Once upon a time, in a small village by the sea, there lived a man named Marcus. Marcus was not a rich man, nor was he powerful, but he had one habit that made his life harder than it needed to be. He complained about everything. If the sun was too hot, he grumbled. If the rain fell, he sighed and said the world was against him. If his bread was slightly burnt, he acted as if it were a great tragedy. His neighbors often avoided him because his constant negativity drained their energy. One day, a traveling philosopher named Seneca passed through the village. He was known for his wisdom and his calm way of facing life's difficulties. Marcus, hearing of Seneca's reputation, decided to seek his advice. He found the philosopher sitting under an old oak tree, watching the waves crash against the shore. Marcus approached him and said, "Life is unfair. Nothing ever goes right for me. The world is full of problems, and I suffer more than anyone else." Seneca smiled gently and replied, "Tell me, Marcus, does complaining make the sun less hot? Does it stop the rain from falling? Does it unburn your bread?" Marcus frowned. "No, of course not. Then why do you do it?" Seneca asked. Marcus had no answer. He had never thought about it before. Seneca continued, "The Stoics teach us that suffering does not come from the events themselves, but from our judgments about them. The rain is just rain. The burnt bread is just bread. It is your thoughts that turn them into misery." Marcus sat quietly for a moment, considering this. "But how do I stop? Complaining feels natural to me." Seneca nodded. "It is natural, but not helpful. Let me tell you a story. There was once a king who ruled a prosperous land. He had everything a man could desire: wealth, power, respect. But he was never happy. He complained about his advisors, his food, even the weather. One day a wise servant approached him and said, "My king." Marcus sighed. "That sounds difficult." "It is," Seneca admitted, "but not impossible. Let me give you a challenge. For the next 30 days, do not complain about anything. Not the weather, not the food, not the people around you. Instead, when something difficult happens, ask yourself, 'Can I change this? If yes, take action. If no, accept it with grace.'" Marcus agreed, though he was unsure he could succeed. The first few days were the hardest. When his neighbor's dog barked late at night, he bit his tongue instead of cursing. When his fishing net tore, he calmly repaired it without a word of complaint. Slowly, he noticed something strange. His life did not feel as heavy as before. One evening, a storm rolled in, ruining the village's market day. The other villagers groaned and complained, but Marcus simply shrugged and said, "The storm will pass." His neighbor, surprised, asked, "Aren't you upset? You lost a day's earnings." Marcus thought for a moment. "Upset? No. The storm is not my enemy. It is just nature. I will fish twice as much tomorrow." The neighbor stared at him. "You've changed." Marcus smiled. "No, I've just stopped making my life harder than it needs to be." As the days passed, Marcus found himself happier. Not because his life was perfect, it wasn't, but because he had stopped resisting things he couldn't control. He began to see obstacles as tests of his character, not as punishments. One afternoon, Seneca returned to the village. He found Marcus sitting by the shore, mending his nets. "Well?" Seneca asked. "How was the challenge?" Marcus looked up, his face calm. "I failed many times, but each time I failed, I learned. And now I see what the Stoics meant. Complaining is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will suffer. It only hurts yourself." Seneca nodded approvingly. "You have understood the lesson well. The world will never be perfect. There will always be storms, torn nets, burnt bread. But you can choose how you respond. That is where true strength lies. From that day on, Marcus was known in the village not as the man who complained, but as the man who faced life with quiet strength. His neighbors began to seek his advice, and though he never became rich or powerful, he lived a life of peace. A life where storms could come and go, but his mind remained unshaken. And so, dear listener, the lesson is this: complaining does not change the world. It only changes you, for the worse. The Stoic challenge is simple but powerful. For the next 30 days, do not complain. When something difficult happens, ask, can I change it? If yes, act. If no, accept. You may find, as Marcus did, that the real obstacle was never the storm, but your own resistance to it. The path of the Stoic is not about denying hardship. It is about facing it with clarity, courage, and calm. Stop complaining. Start living. The choice is yours.